Alright, so real quick, before we get into this, I need you to just hear me out. In 1972, a plane crashed in the Andes Mountains. 16 people survived 72 days. No food, no rescue. Sub-zero temperatures every single night. And at some point they made a choice. A choice that kept every single one of them alive. Now, here's the wild part. That same choice, your ancient ancestors were making it so regularly, it wasn't even really a decision to them. It was just Tuesday. And once I show you why, you're not going to be disgusted. You're going to be like, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense. Because here's the thing nobody ever tells you. The version of this story you grew up with, if you even heard it at all, was cleaned up, sanitized. Designed to make you think this was something only crazy people or savages did. But the actual historical record, it doesn't care about your feelings. And what it shows is that cannibalism for most of human history wasn't about being a monster. It was about being smart, it was about surviving, and in some cases, it was actually about love. And we're gonna get into all of that. But first, let's talk about how deep this actually goes. Archaeologists have found evidence of cannibalism on every single inhabited continent. Every one. We're talking 600,000 years of documentation. That's not a dark chapter in human history. That is human history. The question was never, why did they do it? The real question is, why did we spend so long acting like they didn't? Okay, so the oldest confirmed evidence we have comes from Atapuerca, Spain. There's a site there called Grandolina. And in 1994, researchers are digging in this cave and they find human bones, hundreds of them, at least 11 different people. And on those bones, cut marks, not from animals, from stone tools, deliberate, precise, in the exact same spots you'd see on a butchered deer or a wild pig. These weren't accidents. Somebody sat down and did this on purpose. And here's what really messes people up. These bones are 800,000 years old. Homo sapiens didn't even exist yet. A completely different human species was out here doing this. Which means this isn't some weird detour in the human story. This is the human story, from the jump. Now, I need to stop here for a second. When most people hear the word cannibalism, they think it's all one thing. It's not. There are actually 4 completely different reasons ancient humans did this, and they have almost nothing to do with each other. First one, survival cannibalism. This is the Andes situation. You're stranded, you have no food, people in your group are dying. The Andes survivors, these were regular people, college students, rugby players, not survivalists. Several of them refused at first. Some held out for weeks. But when it's minus 30 degrees outside and your body is shutting down and there is literally nothing else in any direction as far as you can see, you make the call. 16 of them made it home because of that call. Now take that same situation and drop it 800,000 years into the past. Ice Age winter. Frozen solid in every direction. Every animal either migrated or burrowed underground. No stored food, no grocery store, no way to hunt, nothing. You've got children, you've got elders depending on you, and somebody in your group just died. Not killed, just died. From the cold, from sickness, from exhaustion. What does literally every survival instinct in your body tell you to do? You keep going. You grieve when it's warm. Right now you survive. That's not evil. That's a brain doing exactly what a brain is supposed to do. And this wasn't just Ice Age Europe either. The Anasazi, a whole civilization in the American Southwest around 1150 AD, they hit a catastrophic drought. Crops failed. Society started collapsing. Okay, second reason, and this is where it starts to get uncomfortable in a completely different direction. Ritual cannibalism. And I need you to actually open your mind here for a second. In a lot of ancient societies, consuming part of someone who died wasn't disrespectful. It was the most respectful thing you could possibly do. The belief was that a person's strength, their courage, their spirit, all of that lived inside their physical body. And when they died, that didn't have to disappear. It could be transferred. It could live on inside the people who loved them most. The Wari people of Brazil did this until the 20th century. Not because they were starving, not because of war, because when somebody in their community died, consuming them was how you kept them alive. That was love. Western missionaries showed up and were absolutely horrified. But here's the flip. The Wari were equally horrified when they found out that Western people buried their dead in the ground, alone, in the dark, separated from everybody who loved them forever. Two completely different frameworks. And honestly, when you actually think about it, neither one is obviously crazy. Third reason, warfare cannibalism. In a lot of ancient warrior cultures, consuming part of a defeated enemy was the ultimate power move. It wasn't about food. It wasn't about ritual. The Aztecs did this at scale. The Spanish conquistadors documented it and were genuinely shocked, which is rich coming from the Spanish conquistadors. But okay, we'll move on. Some researchers have actually argued that warfare cannibalism served a real, practical function. In a world with no courts, no treaties, no international law, this was how you ended a conflict so completely that nobody could dispute the outcome. Alright, number 4. I told you this one would get you. Medicinal cannibalism. And just to be clear, we are not talking about ancient cave people here. We are talking about Arab, educated, Christian, sophisticated Europe, 17th century, 18th century, not that long ago. For hundreds of years, European doctors genuinely believed that human body parts had powerful medical properties. Human skull powder prescribed for epilepsy. Human fat used to treat joint pain and skin conditions. King Charles II of England, one of the most powerful men on the planet, had his own personal recipe called the King's Drops. Made partly from human skull, he took it himself. He gave it to his family and friends. The man running the British Empire was out here drinking skull medicine while simultaneously sending missionaries to Africa and South America to tell people how uncivilized they were. I just need that to fully land for a second. This is the chapter that never makes it into the textbooks, because it's a lot easier to point at somebody on another continent and call them primitive than it is to look at your own history and go, yeah, we were also doing that in nicer clothes and calling it science. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you every single instance of this was fine and justified. It wasn't. There are cases in the record where the evidence points to something that doesn't have a survival or ritual or warfare explanation. And that's different. That deserves to be called what it is. But here's what the full picture actually shows. The overwhelming majority of documented cannibalism throughout human history fits into one of those 4 categories. And in every single one of those cases, the people doing it had a logic, a framework, a reason that made complete sense to them. The Andes survivors came home, they gave interviews, they wrote books, they talked about it openly. And almost all of them said the same thing. The people who died on that mountain didn't just die. They gave their lives so the rest could live. And the survivors carry that not as shame, but as the heaviest and most sacred debt one human being can owe another. That 800,000-year-old bone in Atapuerca isn't evidence of monsters. It's evidence of people. Cold, scared, desperate people trying to figure out how to keep going in a world that was actively trying to kill them. The circumstances changed. The calculation never did. Just like the Andes survivors. Just like you would if you're being honest with yourself about what survival actually looks like when it gets real. Survive. Keep the people you love alive. Figure out the moral philosophy later. That's not savage, that's just human.